What is good, Raider Nation? What a freaking win, man. Uh, what a freaking win. Uh, First and foremost, man, huge shout out to everybody that's here already watching this video. Huge shout out to Raider Nation, man. This one's gonna be such an enjoyable week because the Raiders are now 4-2. And things could not look better for us right now, man. I'm pumped up, man. First and foremost, you got to give a huge shout out to the entire team, from offense to defense to special teams. You got to give a huge shout out to everybody because let's face it, man. Without what this team just did right now, without the fact that we came into this game uh, being looked at, man, like we just lost our head coach. We've lost the last two games. We started off 3-0, and we're no longer 3-0. We're 3-2, and we're coming into a game in which it was probably the biggest game of the season, and we wanted to see what this team was going to respond like. And wow, did this team respond, man? 4-2, things could not have went better for the Raiders today. Offense started off firing, defense started off well, and this was just a great team effort, man. I'm very excited, man. We're gonna break this down. We're gonna get into some of these players. I appreciate every single person that is here with me right now. Huge shout out to all of you guys, man. Almost 100 of you guys already here. If you guys could hit that thumbs up button, I would really, really, really appreciate it. And I hope you guys can 100% hear me. Um, Greg Olsen, man, shout out to him. Let's just get right into this, man. The game started off, and at one point the score was 10-7, and I was like, man, the Raiders aren't doing anything at this point. We started off hot on offense, 7-0 right away. They score, we kick a field goal, it's 10-7, and after that, it was, we're going back and forth, but no one was scoring. Right before halftime, a minute left, right? The Raiders get the ball with about a minute left before half, and we go downfield, I think on 5 plays, 84 yards or something like that. And we scored, man. And it was led by Derek Carr. Fantastic job on that specific drive. But just overall today, man, Derek Carr really delivered. 18-27, 341 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked twice, but really, like this game could not have been much better, man. Some people are saying the Denver Broncos are overrated. I don't know, man. I think the Raiders are just an underrated team. I think the Raiders, when they're able to come together, are just one of those teams. It's a good team, man. Like we beat the Baltimore Ravens week 1, and the Ravens are 5-1 at this point. 5-1. The one loss they have is against the Las Vegas Raiders. I know some people are saying, and I saw the comments on my Twitter. A lot of people are saying, and I shouldn't say a lot, some people are saying that John Gruden was the biggest issue. He was the one guy holding this team back. I don't know if I agree with that necessarily, but I will say this. Greg Olsen definitely opened up the offense. He took those deep shots. And more so than that, right? It wasn't Greg Olsen actually throwing those passes. It was Derek Carr. Those 50-50 balls to Henry Ruggs, right? The Denver Broncos on third down bring everybody. They leave Henry Ruggs in single coverage, and Derek Carr just throws it up there. And it's Henry Ruggs that catches that pass. Then that Brian Edwards 51-yard throw. That's Derek Carr just giving his guy the opportunity. This game, man, from both sides of the ball was a fantastic game. I want to know what you guys think, though. What was the difference in this game? And, you got to give a big shout out to that offensive line. Every single week I've been breaking down the offensive line, and every single week I've seen the same thing happening, which is the O-line plays pretty well at times. Minus the Chargers game, the offensive line was terrible in that game. Outside of that game, they had gotten better and better and better and better. Obviously, it was a shock in week 4 against the Chargers when we took that huge step downwards. But the offensive line had gotten better. And in the Bears game specifically, they played so much better. In my opinion, I made a full film breakdown of it. And I read you guys' comments. I got a lot of comments about that and how you guys felt about that Bears game, which was kind of different than how I felt with the offensive line. But I'm glad that they showed up against the Broncos. The offensive line was opening up running lanes. They're opening up gaps for the running backs to hit. Under James wasn't getting beat. He wasn't making those same mistakes that he had in the past. John Simpson played a little bit better, although he had one holding call, I believe. Brandon Parker, man, big shout out to Brandon Parker. If there's one guy on this offensive line that really stepped up it was Brandon Parker, man. He gave up 0 sacks today. More so than that, he pretty much shut down Von Miller outside of maybe 1 or 2 plays. And the offensive line in general, man. Big shout out to the offensive line. More so than that, big shout out to Derek Carr, man. You know, a lot of people are saying Derek Carr might be replaced. A new coach might replace Derek Carr. Rich Bisaccia or Mike Mayock might not feel the same about Derek Carr, and they might go with Marcus Mariota. And Marcus was active for the first time today since week 1. And what happened? Derek Carr stepped up, man, and he threw for 341 yards. The running backs, specifically Kenyon Drake, 4 carries, 34 yards and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs, 16 carries, 53 yards and a touchdown. The Raiders running backs specifically had 21 carries for 87 yards, which is fantastic, man. The O-line did their thing. The running backs, the receivers, Henry Ruggs, 3 catches for 97 yards. Edwards, 2 catches for 67 yards. And Darren Waller, 5 catches for 59 yards. Even Hunter Renfrow had some good catches, some first down catches, 3 catches, 36 yards. Great job by the offense, man. And really, I want to get into some of these defensive players because the defense really stepped up in this game, man. Multiple turnovers, interceptions. They're making plays. They're getting the ball back for our offense. Let's get into some of these super chats, man. I appreciate any super chat. As you guys know, super chats definitely the way to support this channel. Alex Sandoval left a $5 super chat. He said Raiders look a lot different when they aren't being made to play too conservative and keeping it close. I totally agree, man. The biggest thing I noticed this week compared to all the other weeks, and let's be honest, 11 straight games we went 3 and out. 11 straight games, 3 and out. And today we didn't go 3 and out, man. In fact, we scored a touchdown today for the first time in 11 straight games. Obviously we went 3 and out, which means we also didn't score on 11 straight games on the opening drive. And we weren't playing conservative at all today, man. There were a couple of plays in which Derek Carr maybe could have done a little bit more, but like, let's be honest, right? You don't want to force something that's not there and force some turnovers. In fact, we got field goals out of those drives. You know, there was one drive specifically. I think we might have missed a field goal on that drive, but Derek Carr ran out of bounds on first down and third down. Instead of, potentially throwing an interception, he set up the field goal. And, Carr did what he had to do, but we weren't playing conservative. We're getting the ball downfield. And we weren't, running on first down and then coming out and running it on 2nd and 9 or whatever it may be. And I'm very pumped up, man, because this week specifically, the content is going to feel much better, right? It's not a loss. It's a win instead. So I'm really excited about that specifically. Shout out to the O-line and the D-line. Totally agree with you, man. Adrian said, noticed a lot of play actions that worked great in the first half. Notice it kept linebackers hesitant. Absolutely, man. And you know what? What's killer for the Raiders offense is when you get a run for 5 yards or 6 yards or 7 yards and you force the Denver Broncos to now have to defend the run, for them to have to worry about the run or any defense that is. Those play actions just hit that much better. There was a play, I think, on the second drive of the game. I think it was the first play of the second drive of the game. The Raiders came out, play action it, and hit Hunter Renfrow right over the top of these linebackers. But those linebackers had crashed inwards, right? And those were the things that kept the Raiders in it. That's what kept the Broncos defense honest. And you got to give a huge shout out to Derek Carr. He does a good job on those play actions. Thank you for the super chat. I don't know how to say your name. I apologize. Jadogu Gugu left a $4.99 super chat. Said, so happy for a convincing win. No overtime, no last-minute victory. That's probably the best thing of this game, right? The Raiders in this game, as opposed to all the other games in the past, this game, like, we pretty much won this game and we controlled the football. We controlled the game. It wasn't like it was a close game. Like, let's be honest. We outperformed this Denver Broncos team. They had no shot to win this game, especially early on. You go up 17-7 at the end of the first half, and you continue to score, man. You don't light up. 17 points in the first half, and we finished with 34 points. So we scored another 17 in the second half, and we scored in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter. This is how you win football games, man. This is how you get the victories. Uh, and you don't allow the other team to stay close. Like, let's be honest. This game was not close. It was 34-10 at one point. I'm sorry, 31-10 at one point. And then the Broncos were really scoring in like garbage time situations. But overall, man, the Raiders really got it done. And, this is how you win, man. This is how you 100% win. Uh, I'm excited, man. What's crazy is the Raiders, one of the biggest flaws they've had was their third down efficiencies. And they weren't a lot better today, but they didn't get into those third down situations a ton. There were 4 of 11 on third downs, which, on a percentage basis is probably a little bit better. But we weren't in those third and long situations. So it wasn't as difficult for Derek Carr to be able to convert those first downs. At the same time, I feel like we made all the proper calls, right? For example, early in the game, it was 7-7. The Raiders drove downfield, and it was 4th and 3. And Rich Bisaccia could have decided, hey, you know what? Let's go for this. It's 4th and 3. We're at about 30-yard line. Instead, he decided not to. He said, let's kick the field goal. And those are the type of decisions that ultimately win games. Those are the type of decisions that ultimately win Super Bowls, right? Don't shift the momentum when it's not needed. Go up 10-7 because you never know if you might get a stop, you might get a pick six or whatever could happen. And the Raiders got a stop. And not only did they get a stop, but they scored before the half. And we went up 17-7. Now, imagine if we didn't take that field goal and we scored before half and we're only up 14-7, right? It's a completely different ballgame, in my opinion. One of the things that I think really, really, really stood out this game was how good the secondary was. Think about this for a second. The Raiders had a bunch of interceptions, right? You got Trayvon Merrick with an interception. You got the guy that came out of nowhere this game. Fassieson, I think that's how you say his name, Brandon Fassieson. He had an interception this game. Jonathan Abram had an interception to really seal the game. The Raiders were getting it done, man. And it's crazy because that's not something we typically were able to get, right? And more so than that, Trayvon Merrick picked up 35 yards on his interception. So big shout out to Trayvon Merrick. Interceptions, and then more than that, sacks and just getting after the quarterback. We had 17 quarterback hits. Can you think about how many quarterback hits that is? That's insane, man. 17. I compared that to what the Broncos did. The Broncos had 4 quarterback hits, 4 hits on the quarterback, 2 sacks. The Raiders had 5 sacks and 17 quarterback hits. That's just nuts, man. That was led by Max Crosby, who had 5 quarterback hits and 3 sacks. We also had 3 quarterback hits from Damian Square, the defensive tackle we picked up from the Chicago Bears. Yannick Ngakoue also had 2 quarterback hits. Solomon Thomas had 3. Quentin Jefferson had 2. That interior defensive line, it was beautiful, man. It's really coming together for the Raiders. The defense is coming together. The defensive line is coming together. I'm excited, man. It's insane to me to think about where the Raiders were after the first 3 weeks, what happened weeks 4 and 5, and where they're at this week. Because this week, man, they really came together and they really put it together. We got a couple more super chats here. NYNTY5 said Jan is really helping the whole line, especially the D tackles get sacks. Absolutely. Last week, I had some Ravens fans reach out to me and say Yannick Ngakoue is trash. He does absolutely nothing. And I asked those guys, you tell me why he's trash. What is it that he's not doing? And they're saying that, well, he has almost no sacks. Like, you're 5 weeks in and he really hasn't done anything. And that's when I realized that these guys don't watch the Las Vegas Raiders, because Yannick Ngakoue was getting after the quarterback. He was opening things up. And even today, he was getting upfield, forcing the quarterback to step up, which allowed sacks from the defensive linemen. 5 sacks, 17 quarterback hits, man. This defensive line is something different. It's crazy that the Raiders have not had this type of defensive line in so long. And Max Crosby, man, you got to give a huge shout out to Max. He's probably the MVP of the defense right now. Like, that's where Max Crosby's playing at the moment. But you can probably give that to a couple of other guys as well. Aunt Six said, Raiders. Can't wait for your film breakdown for the O-line this week. The deep shots we took kept their safety at bay. In Gus, we trust. Abso-freaking-lutely, man. That's a great point. The deep shots that the Raiders are taking, the willingness to go downfield really opened everything up. And it's crazy because Derek Carr completed 18 passes this game. 18. That's not that many passes to complete, and he had 341 yards, which is insane. That's almost 13 yards per completion. That's crazy, man. More so than that, 341 yards. And he only threw the ball 27 times, and we ran the ball 23 times. So that's a really good balance by the offense to really keep it going, man. Big shout out to Derek Carr, Gus Bradley. What can you say, man? He's really turned this entire defense around. Like, we're no longer only reliant on our offense. If our offense puts up 30 points, we're likely going to win a game because Gus Bradley will hold teams. He will force turnovers. And this game was much different. We forced more turnovers. But that's what happens. When your offense scores points, you make the opposing offense have to go downfield. You make the opposing offense want to go downfield, right? You force them into things they might not want to do. And that often leads to turnovers. And that's kind of what the Raiders did today, right? They got turnovers because we're up, and the D-line was also able to get some pressure. So a big shout out to everybody on the defense. Brian said fourth quarter, D slacked on the 14 points. Nonetheless, if we play the same kind of football today here on out, we don't lose any more games, including the Chiefs. I don't know how many games we're going to win. I don't know how many we're going to lose. But if this team shows up the same exact way they showed up today, the Raiders are going to win a ton of games, man. 10+ wins. We're 4-2 at the moment. We did give up 14 points in the fourth quarter, but on one of those touchdowns, you can kind of say that the Raiders are just kind of playing prevent, and they wanted to burn clock. Because we're up by 3 possessions. You're going to let them get downfield, which is okay. Let the Broncos get downfield, make them earn it, waste that clock. If they score, it's fine. It's still a 2-possession game, a minute left. Not a huge deal. But I agree, man. I agree with what you're saying, Brian. Thank you for the super chat. Yuba City live, didn't see double team on Miller. I appreciate the comment, man. Yuba City, I'm from Yuba City as well, if you guys don't know that. A big shout out to you, man. I really appreciate the comment. I want to talk a little bit about the offensive line as well as the secondary of the Raiders, but let's start it off with the offensive line. There was a rushing touchdown by Kenyon Drake. And the O-line did a fantastic job. Andre James picked up his guy. There was a linebacker. There was a guy over him. He let that guy go. John Simpson picks him up. He gets to the linebacker, and he pushes the linebacker out. Kenyon Drake reads that play perfectly. It was a zone run. He reads it. He cuts back underneath Andre James, and then he cuts outwards because Hunter Renfrow comes downhill and lays a great block on the safety, and Kenyon Drake scores a touchdown. And it's those type of plays, it's those type of blocks that really allowed the Raiders to win this game. And I don't know why the offensive line out of nowhere decided to really put it together. I don't know if they're angry, if they're pissed, if they're sick of being criticized, but they really came together. They really showed up in this game. The offensive line from left tackle to right tackle did a great job. Like, there was no one player that was, in my opinion, noticeably bad, right? No one was noticeably great, but when you're not noticeably bad, that's always a good thing. And we were able to kind of consistently pound the ball. And I liked the game plan from the offensive side of the ball. Kenyon Drake is a special football player. I know some people killed the Raiders for picking up Kenyon Drake, but he's a special football player in the sense that you get him the ball out in space, and he does some special things. And that's exactly what happened. They gave him the ball in the backfield. They threw him the ball, and then they had him running out and wheel route or an out to wheel route. Right before halftime, Derek Carr delivered the pass. There's not a lot of linebackers that can cover a guy like Kenyon Drake. And I'm glad that Greg Olsen utilized him. We didn't overly run Josh Jacobs. We did just enough. Kenyon Drake got the ball. The O-line held up. Colton Miller, man, on one of the rushing touchdowns, John Simpson pulled, Colton Miller pulled, and that was a great block. I can't wait to get my hands on this film, man. I really am excited to kind of see what happened on all the plays. And, I think this week's film breakdowns are going to be interesting. I want to know what you guys want to see, man. Let me know in the comments below right now, as well as if you guys aren't watching this live, let me know what kind of film breakdowns you guys want to see. I did a Jonathan Abram film breakdown last week. He's had a great season so far up to this point. He's really looking like one of our better defensive players. Like, he's out there making impactful plays. At the same time, Nate Hobbs, man, almost had an interception, almost had a forced fumble. I know it hasn't hit yet, right? Because technically he has 0 forced fumbles, he has 0 interceptions, but he's getting close, and that's what matters, right? It's a mental factor for the opposing team that, hey, this guy's getting close to forcing these turnovers. Be a little bit more careful. Nate Hobbs, man, really solid rookie. Trayvon Merritt gets his first interception. Casey Hayward, I mean, he's Casey Hayward, right? Like, let's be honest. He did get beat once, which should have been a touchdown by Cortland Sutton early on, but it was a little bit too far. At the end of the day, he had some great plays, some pass breakups. But let's get into the one guy, man. And I see some comments coming in from you guys. Jacob said, thoughts on Amik? Let's talk a little bit about Amik Robertson. As you guys know, Amik Robertson was pulled out of this game. He was benched. And it wasn't because he couldn't cover, although he had some struggles, right? On the first drive of the game, they went at Amik Robertson, or at least in his zone 3 straight times on the first drive, and he allowed 3 catches, including a first down. We can't have that. More than that, he also missed 2 tackles. The second tackle he missed, now the first tackle he missed got him pulled out of the game. Amik Robertson was benched in the first quarter. I believe it was on the Broncos' second drive of the game because he missed a tackle. If there's one thing you can't do, that's miss tackles. You can allow catches, but you can't miss tackles. And Amik Robertson was missing tackles on those running plays. It's important because when guys are trying to go to the outside, the offensive line is going to block down, which means they're going to leave the corner unblocked for the corner to have to make the tackle. And if you're a corner that can't tackle, you're really going to make it harder for the defense. And Amik Robertson missed the tackle once early on in the second drive of the game, and he got pulled. Amik Robertson was benched. Casey Hayward gets hurt. I think Jonathan Abram falls into his leg. He gets hurt. He comes out, and here's Amik Robertson's chance, man. Step in there and force something to happen. And what happens? He misses another tackle, man, and the running back goes for 33 yards. You can't miss tackles. Amik Robertson, man, he has to get it together. Now, I think Amik Robertson, I'm not the type of player to overreact, right? I know a lot of people out there overreact. I'm not the type to overreact. I think Amik Robertson will be fine. He's fairly good in coverage, but he really needs to get it together when it comes to tackling. And we do have to keep in mind, Amik Robertson's not a full-time starter. So until he's a full-time starter, until he gets those reps, it's going to take longer for a guy like him to develop. He is also, he was also a slot corner last year, and now he's a outside corner. So he has to get it together. He has to learn to tackle. Trayvon Mullen is out for a number of weeks, as is Damon Arnett. Both guys are out, which means next week it's either going to be Brandon Faison, and I hope I'm saying his name right, Brandon Faison, or it'll be Amik Robertson. Now, Brandon Faison looked good, right? He looked really good this past week. He's a Gus Bradley guy. We just picked him up. But I think Amik Robertson might still end up starting. Now, obviously, I can't confirm that, but we'll see what happens. I see some people saying Amik is like 5'3". It never made sense to me. Like, I believe he's like 5'8", 5'9". He's not that much smaller, that much shorter than the next guy, right? Maybe like 2 inches. It's really not that big of a deal. But he just has to get it together. He has to put it together. But I think this Raiders team, man, you look at the guys from the defensive line to the linebackers to the secondary, and the guys are playing great all around. One guy that kind of disappointed me today was Corey Littleton. And we can just get right into Corey Littleton. In my opinion, Littleton has to get replaced sooner than later. And I know Corey Littleton's really good in coverage, but he's terrible against the run. And I watched last week's game, and one of the biggest issues was Corey Littleton missing tackles. Today, I saw the same thing. I saw him missing tackles. Corey Littleton has to clean it up. He has to make the tackles because there are certain runs. There are certain runs where Corey Littleton, he could have stepped up and he could have stopped the play for 1 yard, but he missed, and then they pick up 4 or 5 yards. He did have 11 tackles today, but I'm not so worried about those tackles specifically. It's more so for me, those missed tackles. I don't know exactly how many missed tackles I have, so I'll have to get back to you guys on that. But Corey Littleton has to put it together. Denzel Perryman had 11 tackles. He currently leads the league in tackles, which is crazy to think. The Raiders linebacker is leading the league in tackles, man. Big shout out to Denzel Perryman. It seems like these guys that Gus Bradley brought in have really made a big difference for us. Denzel Perryman, Casey Hayward, Roderick Teamer had a freaking great play today against Noah Fant on it was like 3rd and 5. He tackled him and it was short, 4th and 1. He made the tackle and then they tried going for it on 4th and 1 and we intercept the pass. Those are the difference. Those are the plays that are the difference in the game. I say this all the time. The Raiders don't need one guy to make 8 plays. They just need 8 guys to make 1 play each every game. And those are the differences in the game. And today, Roderick Teamer made his play along with a bunch of other guys, right? Solomon Thomas strips Teddy Bridgewater. How big of a play was that to punch the ball out of Teddy Bridgewater's hands? Roderick Teamer makes his play. You get 3 interceptions. Brandon Faison early on gets the interception. Trayvon Merrick a little bit later on gets an interception, but a huge time to get an interception. And then at the end to seal the game, it's pretty much over anyways. But then Jonathan Abram ices the game at the end of the game. Those are the differences in this game, man. You got to just get guys to make plays, and the Raiders guys were making them, man. Almost 500 you guys. If you guys can hit that thumbs up button real quick, I would really appreciate that. Derek Carr, in my opinion, really stepped up this game. There were so many rumors that Derek Carr could potentially get benched. There were so many rumors that we don't know if Mike Mayock, Rich Bisaccia, and even Greg Olsen want Derek Carr. That too, they activated Marcus Mariota, and we weren't sure if Mariota was going to play this week. We kind of assumed that they might play, but we weren't 100% sure. And Marcus was activated. Nathan Peterman was deactivated. We knew that if Derek Carr were to go down or if he were to get hurt, that we're going to see Marcus Mariota. And Derek Carr steps up to the challenge. I think this Raiders team, the way they played today, they took their shots deep. They ran the football and they built their offense around the football or around running the football, because how many times do we run the football to pick up 3 or 4 yards? And then we play action, and then the linebackers and safeties were getting sucked in, and we were able to get 4, 5, 6 yards on the outside. And it wasn't the same John Gruden type of let's run 3-yard slants and 1-yard outs and throw the ball. It wasn't those, right? Those weren't the type of plays we were calling. We're running like 10-yard. We're doing a play action with Hunter Renfrow running 10 yards, or a play action with Edwards running a 15-yard dig route. Those are the things that the Raiders are doing. And the Raiders really did a great job on the offensive side of the ball. Greg Olsen, Derek Carr, the offensive line can all split the game ball because they all did a great job. On the defense, there's like 8 guys you can give the game ball to. AJ Cole had a 71-yard punt, which is insane. Great punt. He flipped the field early on, right? I'm excited, man. I think the Raiders have a lot going for them. I really want to know what you guys think, man. Let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about this win. It was a huge win. Enjoy the win, man, and represent Raider Nation. Represent your gear if you guys are going to work, to school, or if you guys work at home like I do. I'll still be representing the Raider Nation. Tune in this week. I'm going to have so many film breakdowns. I'm going to try to aim for about 3 videos every 2 days, right? So at least a couple days, I'll have 2 videos for you guys. Hit that thumbs up button. Hope you guys all have a great week, and I will see you guys next time with another video.